Morning. I'm Rabbi Brian, and this is the Saturday service. There it says so right there. Saturday service, 8 a.m. Pacific time on Zoom. And here I have a bunch of friends on Zoom still joining. Um, and friends on Zoom, wave, say hi, wave to each other. Look around like you actually can see the people in the Zoom boxes. That always amuses me a little bit. Well, good morning. Glad you guys are here. I am still setting up a little bit. I'm excited to tell you I have 118 days, 23 hours. So exactly in 119 days from 8 o'clock, I'm going to be having a book launch party. Can I get a yay?
Yay!
What this means about when the book is published, I don't know. I just decided that I'm going to have a book launch party on July 22nd, no matter what the status of the book is. I'm celebrating it because it might be published, it might not be published. I don't care. I just want to be able to celebrate it and share the book with all of you. So mark your, you don't have to mark your calendars, but we'll see you then. Okay, so this is a Saturday service. A lot of you are regulars, and I had considered asking you to change your screen name and put a star at the front of your name if you had been here more than 5 times. But then I thought that might make some people feel left out, and
Yeah.
you already know if you've been here more than 5 times, and if you've been here more than 5 times, you've already seen a bunch of the people who are here, and you know who those people are. So, so we're not doing that.
Good.
Good. I do, if you are new, I give you a special welcome. You might notice that this is a little bit different as a Zoom meeting, as I try my best to keep people are unmuted, and that is so that people can interact. That's the way that this service runs, is that I don't have all the answers. I know that quite well, and I want to be able to interact with people and have people give their reactions.
Because we have all the answers, right, Brian?
Exactly.
Between us,
there's an amazing amount of wisdom in a group, and different. If my grandfather used to say, if two people always agree, one of them's not necessary. And so by having different perspectives, we get a better image, a better angle on the truth. The same way when we have two eyes, we have perspective, we can see depth. When we have different people have different opinions and we hear things from different voices, it helps us to learn. So I thank you for sharing. We're going to start today with some review of things we talked about last week. Include, I loved this. This was in the chat, the Love Osor. Love Osor being an acronym that love is made out of SAUR. And if you don't remember all 4 of the words, that's okay. But let's take a look at what was SAUR. These are all different aspects of love, and we'll do a quick review on those. What were SAUR?
See.
Yeah,
Accept.
the first quality of love is to see. And I'm going to ask, can I get a volunteer to, in real time right now, do a see? Might be a bit of an odd instruction, but can I get an example in the present, in the here and now, right now with the group? Somebody give an example of what does it mean to see when we're talking about love?
I see you.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
To
focus your attention on.
To focus your attention on someone. I had the choice when Betsy spoke to not respond at all, But the fact that I know it's Betsy's voice, that's a way of seeing. It's a way of acknowledging. It's a way of making the other person not feel invisible and feel seen. So see, the next part of love starts with an A, and that is
Accept.
accept. Anyone have a thought about accept as being a part of love? I think about the whole world and reality as it is, and how well are you able to accept reality as it is? Might be related to love. Any helps on you? The you portion of love stands for
Understand.
yeah. If you're going to love somebody, you have to accept them for who they are, and you have to understand have compassion, have empathy, not just to accept them, but to have a compassion, to be with them in their suffering, to have empathy. And then finally, the last aspect of love begins with an R.
Respond.
Respond. That love doesn't happen in a vacuum. We have to do something. Any other thoughts we have on? We're gonna extend our talk about love in a moment. But any thoughts that came to you in the last week on the topic of SAUR? Any extended learning? Any?
Well, I hadn't heard about it before, but I've been going through a lot of this when my dad died last August. My mom died at the end of January. That's why I haven't been here. I'm going through stuff. I mean, physical stuff.
Yeah.
It's bringing up a bunch of memories of what it was like in their last years when I was doing a lot of taking care of them. And all of this, see them for who they are now. Yeah. Now when my mom is, got dementia, my dad can barely get out of a chair. Accept that.
Yeah.
Understand it and respond by being there for them. That all makes complete sense to me.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to do. We want to love people and we want them to be the image of who we want them to be.
Right.
And really loving someone is to take them as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Janet.
I like that. But Brian, I like that you spoke about compassion as part of the understand. I'm thinking about in some of the Buddhist reading I've done, they have a lovely saying that the beginning point of compassion is acknowledging that the person across from you is suffering in some way, and that's something that this is my cutting edge, is reminding myself of that continually, that when someone is mean to me or speaks to me in a way that I find offensive or rude or unhelpful, that they're operating out of a place of suffering. And that's really, really hard work. But another phrase that I've read is, everybody is fighting a dragon. And if we just remembered that, anyway, I offer that to the group.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you. The etymology, if you're into such things, of the word compassion, com is with, passion is suffering. To be with someone's suffering, to be with them in their harsh places. And I love the idea of everyone is carrying around a dragon that we can't necessarily see.
How about combining see and compassion by seeing yourself in others' eyes?
Yeah. To see the other person and to see ourselves. I like that very much. I like that. All right. Other things we talked about last week, we did a slowing down.
Hey, Brian, can I respond to that too before we move on?
We have spacious amounts of time. Please, Jordan, go right ahead.
I just wanted to say that I think maybe that the SAUR rubric applies equally well, maybe even better, to the difficult people in our lives. We all have faults, but to see people and to accept that as part of our relationships with them and do your best to understand it, and then respond in a loving way. That's a challenge, but it speaks to me.
Good. I'm gonna show. If you get nausea, I'm gonna switch screens. So close your eyes for a second, so everyone can see each other. And I'm going to go on a bit of a um, leap off of what you just said there, Jordan. Show of hands. How many of you have to deal with what you would say are impossible people from time to time? Who has to deal with impossible people? Okay, most of us. I'm going to switch back to this view. My best buddy, Larry, he said, and Jordan, this is going to go straight into what you said. He said, there's one way of dealing with impossible people. Now, before I tell you the one way to deal with impossible people, let me tell you, I was teaching this lesson of Larry's, and then Jane heard it, and Jane said, there's a step you need to add in before. And the step before Larry's plan, it's a 3-part plan. The step before Larry's plan is this something you need to do? If the impossible person is someone who you are able to sidestep and not deal with, don't do Larry's plan. If you can avoid the impossible person without causing yourself problems, fantastic. Steve, you have your hand up. I don't.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch a little bit on respond. Back in the 80s, I was invited to be a part of a class that was teaching teenagers to be ready for life, and they did a mock wedding and all that. And we were in to talk about marriage. And I learned a wonderful lesson from an Indian monk that was there that was wonderful, that when we go through all of the things that how we relate to people, everybody kind of stops at love is the most important thing. And if I love you, I should marry you. And what really makes for lasting relationships is he added one more word at the top of that. He wrote the word responsibility and then split it in two and suggested that if you really want to have a relationship that lasts, is good, you have to have the ability to respond to the needs of each other. And if you can't, then it isn't the right place to be.
So you need to be able to respond to needs. Give me, you said it's split into two, and I'm missing one.
Responsibility, the ability
to
the
responsibility.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I like that very much. So in the response, we have to be able to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for adding that in. All right. Who wants to hear Larry's 3-point plan on how to deal with impossible people? Would this service have been worth it if you get a 3-point plan on how to deal with impossible people? All right, here we go. First step. Realize that it's possible. First step is to realize it is possible to deal with impossible people. Nelson Mandela is a human being. Martin Luther King Jr. was a human being. There are people, and they're human beings like you are and like I am, who are able to deal with impossible people. So that's part 1. Part 2, how to deal with impossible people, he says, is this. How to deal with impossible people. That's it. You don't have to do this, but if you want to deal with impossible people, the way to deal with impossible people is to love them. And Jordan, as you said, how do we do that?
Yeah, with your sore, with your lovosaur.
With our lovosaur. What do you do with impossible people? Impossible people want to be
loved.
They want to be seen. Of course they want to be seen. Is it going to disgust you to try to love someone who's being impossible? It's hard, but it's doable. Impossible people want to be
Accepted.
accepted. Of course they do. They don't think they're being impossible. Impossible people want to feel.
Understood.
And finally, impossible people need to be responded to.
Oh.
You don't have to do this. But if you don't, nothing's going to change. They're not going to change. The only thing we can change is us. How do we deal with impossible people? Is we love them. And third part to Larry's plan is know that this is difficult. This is not something you're going to just be able to pick up and do instantly. This is hard work, and be committed to doing it. Okay.
Take it as a challenge.
It's a challenge, and it's like an asymptote. It's something we get better towards. Harold or Connie, one of you
I
has
have
a hand up.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Who decides who's impossible?
you do.
Why would you do that?
Why would you decide someone's impossible?
Yeah.
I don't know. Why?
Well, if you even think about the Lovasaur, then it never gets to that point because you already see them and accept them. You know who they are. There's no sense standing there with a
but
6-shooter starting to identify
some
them.
of those impossible people kind of just sneak in. Or
Well,
you're-
what did Jane say?
or you're related to them, and you're invited to the same Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah, if you're invited to the same Thanksgiving meal and you arrive with a pocket of rocks, what are you going to get?
No rocks, love.
Yeah. This is attitudinal. I'm going to get on my little rabbi soapbox for a moment. This is the heart of religion. This is what we're doing, is we're realizing that the change is for us to be more loving in every circumstance, and to see that the world we see will change when we look at it with more love. Getting off my little rabbi soapbox. Okay.
Love conquers all.
Last week we talked about slowing down some. I want to get back. Oh, Louise, go ahead.
I feel like I want to respond to this
Do
with
it.
some asterisks around it or something.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm going to put some asterisks on. Where would you like them?
Like you said, it is a choice. And if there is the person who is difficult is also hurtful, then I need to protect myself from them.
Correct.
And it may be I can accept that they're difficult or argumentative or angry or all those kinds of things. And therefore, I also need to protect myself.
Correct.
So it's very difficult. I'm trying to put my head around how to love them and also protect myself from them at the same time.
Thank you, Louise.
Right.
Thank you, Louise. There's a quote of which I'm very fond by Prentice Hemphill, which says the following. It says, "Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and love myself at the same time." A boundary
Good.
is
I like
the way
that.
that I can love you and someone love myself at the same time. To say to someone, I want to interact with you, but I can't have you speaking to me in that tone. I can't have you saying nasty things to me anymore. Setting a boundary with someone, and then as we have said, when you set a boundary, what's the most likely thing that's going to happen?
That's the boundary.
Challenge.
They're going to test the boundary. That's normal. Don't get too upset when they test your boundary. Just come back to your point and saying, that's the boundary I just set. can we please back off? It brings me to this, which, all right, I'm not going to follow my outline at all today. That's just fine.
We knew that.
I am pretty much like Charlie Brown and the football, and every week I think, I'm going to follow my outline this week. But the only one who's attached to my outline
Is you.
is me. You guys don't care. It's fine. This is what we started in our before the service. We started with this quote, Louise. And it speaks, it says, there is no value to harshness. There is nothing harshness does that loving firmness doesn't do better. So somebody comes and they do exactly the thing you ask them not to do with the boundary. Instead, if we can, instead of getting irate, what the fuck's wrong with you? I just told you not to do that. That's harshness. There's nothing that harshness does that loving firmness doesn't do better. I just asked you to hold that boundary. I just made that boundary with you, and you just violated it. I'm going to ask you again. We're just with loving firmness. I'm going to ask you again, would you please not say that about me? Or whatever the situation is.
Right.
Thank you, Louise.
I like that very much. It's like loving kindness, loving firmness.
Yes, right? Loving firmness.
Yes, I like that.
Be loving and firm at the same time. It's a great phrase. Can I get an amen for loving firmness?
Amen.
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 But what happens when the person says to you, you made that with me. I did not make that with you, nor did I say I would go along with it. That the person is so toxic to you that no matter what you do, you're not going to get through, and your love is like water over Niagara. It'll just flow and go away.
And Ray, let me ask you, when someone does that to you, what do you do?
If someone were to treat me that way, that I had violated their boundaries, or they violated mine.
They violated yours. If somebody violates your boundary after you said it, what do you do?
Depends on the situation.
Okay.
If I'm at dinner at someone and someone is bathing, I will not talk to that person. If it is possible for me to get up and leave or to move away from that person, so I no longer have contact with that person.
Correct.
So I am no longer harmed.
Right.
I will do it.
So we can say, I asked you already twice to not have that discussion at this table. I apologize for having to leave, but I'm going to have to leave now. And you say thank you to your hosts, and I will call you later, and you leave.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, but but
Yeah.
listen, if we don't have a vision for it in our heads, if we don't have this idea of what we want to do, then how are we going to do it when our heart's racing and somebody brings something terrible up at the dinner table?
Can I say something, Brian? I'm thinking about this love-asaur, and we've been talking about love-asauring the other. We need to love-asaur ourselves
Oh,
too.
dude, that's where I'm going with this whole thing.
Sorry, Brian. We need to see and accept and understand and respond to our own needs in those situations. And only when we do that can we, from a healthy place, offer the kind of acceptance and response to the other.
I'm going to pretend like I didn't hear that all perfectly so we can do it again really slowly. I think this is it. We need to love-asaur impossible people, and if you want to do if you're able to keep track of two different things at the same time. I ask you to think about lovosoring your inner critic. Think about your inner critic, the voice in your own head that tells you you're not good enough, you'll never be good enough, you're doing everything wrong. I don't think I need to give any introduction to your inner critic. I think you already know what that voice sounds like. And what if we apply how to deal with impossible people to how do I deal with the impossible voice in my head that keeps telling me I'm not enough? Let's try it, shall we? Hugh, take me through it, would you? Do you mind? You can say no. No's perfect.
So what are you asking me to help with, Brian?
How am I going to love myself? How am I going to lovosor on myself? Can you bring me through all four letters?
Oh, can I bring you through the letters to see? Sometimes when I read the word see in this, I think behold. I think it's possible for an object or a person to enter and hit the retina of our eye, but we don't really see. We just kind of scan. But to see is to behold in some way. That's the word I sometimes use.
But then that would say lovobore.
Well, I'm not suggesting we change the acronym.
Okay. But it is a full seeing. It's not just a glance.
It's like seeing the way blind people use the word see.
Oh, I like that. To behold, so the way that Logan Fox, Dr. Logan Fox, he's 100 years old, still alive, behavioralist therapist. He used the word recognize.
Well, that works.
It's better than works. It helps you identify which voice is it that you've internalized. And you can say, oh, I've outgrown you. I'm not your child anymore. I'm older than you were when you became my parent.
Yeah. Wonderful. So the first thing we need to do is to behold ourselves, to recognize ourselves, to see ourselves, to say, hey, inner critic, you sure are fast on your feet. Let's keep going. We need to see ourselves, to really behold ourselves. And when we do that, I can just tell you for me, and I'm assuming it's going to happen for you as well, when you really just behold yourself, isn't there a softening? Is that just me? Do we feel there's a softening there? I'll take some head movement of some sort of, or a no. No's are fine too. When you fully take in yourself, hopefully there's a softening. Then we need to accept, this is who I am. These are the hips I have. These are the thoughts I have. Acceptance. There's a joke, again, this is from my buddy Larry. He would tell at weddings. He would say at a wedding, the first thing, and this is for heterosexual couples, that the first thing that the bride sees when she comes out is, first thing she sees is the aisle, and the next thing she sees at the front is the altar, and then what she sees is him. And unfortunately, as Larry says, that's often what she's thinking, aisle, alter, him.
Ouch.
Oh,
indeed.
That's not acceptance. Accepting ourselves for who we are. I think that's the biggest stumbling block, is we think we should be other than who we are.
Yeah. And, I think that, let's see, am I not?
You're here. We hear you.
Okay. that sometimes because it's our, we're using our inner critic to view ourselves, that we don't even know how good or cool or nice or whatever we are. We see ourselves through this filter of the regret or
correct
mistakes. And I had an experience in a therapy session where I was describing this person in the chair, in front of me. And I did all these things to describe her and why I liked her. And then I realized she's a lot like me.
Right.
How come I don't like me as much as I like her?
Right.
It was just like, she's like a mirror. And yet I could look at her, absolutely adore her.
Right. Thank you, Janet. That's to accept ourselves, to see ourselves. If someone else were presenting exactly with the qualities that we have, would we be able to see them? Would we be able to accept them? Would we be able to have compassion? How well do you have compassion and understanding for yourself? All right, let me ask you this one. Are you able to be more compassionate to other people when they make a mistake, or to yourself when you make a mistake?
Other
people.
Ouch.
Other people.
Right? Folks, we gotta work on that. My Buddhist teacher Nagi, he used to say, Brian, about anything you're worried, there are over 100 million Chinese people who don't care what you do. That still leaves 900 million who are caring about what I do. All right. And the last thing is the respond. How well do we respond to ourselves? I have a hard time with that one. Sometimes I have to pee. And I'm like, no, I'll wait. I'll hold it. That's not a loving thing to do to myself.
Right.
Oh, I'll skip lunch today. I got too much to do. Responding to ourselves with love, with kindness. Hugh, how's that feel? You're our official spokesperson for love-o-soaring on ourselves.
I love it.
Yeah. Here's a little game. Look at your Zoom box. Look at the Zoom boxes around you. Pick any square besides yourself. Does that person who you're looking at deserve love and compassion? Does that other person deserve to be forgiven when they make a mistake? And if the answer is yes, then treat yourself with the same love you would treat that random person in a Zoom box.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maria? My friend Maria, do you have us ready for some prayers today?
I do.
Would you be so kind?
Mm-hmm. These are the names of people to lift up and send positive energy to. Rita S., Elizabeth and Ron, Francis, April, Jill, Iggy, Steve, Mumford, Pat, Stephanie, Wendy, Krista, Maudie's brother and Sammy, the Cook family, Beverly Kennedy, Greta, Kat and Paul, Sandy, Bill, and Karen. If there is another person in our community we can offer light and love to, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list in the clubhouse. And for the people who aren't named, but who are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
Let's take 1 minute of time starting now. Well, thank you. I have a few announcements of my own today. One, next Sunday. Next Sunday, if you would like, I'm going to be making matzah. We do this every year. It's according to a recipe from 1503. You've already received an email about it, but if you haven't, go to rotb.org. Send me a note, and I'll send you the how to get yourself invited. Rita, you have a comment or question?
Well, it's not about the matzah. I want to hear the full thing about matzah, but then I do have an announcement I'd like to make too.
You go right ahead.
Okay, well, some of you at least know that I'm in the process of casting for the story theater play of Stone Soup. And I'm going to put into the chat the list of the people who I know are interested and who would want to do it. But I also would like, if you're interested at all, please add your name. And I'll have my email there also. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thank you, Rita. So this is a virtual performance, so nobody needs to leave their home.
No, you have to come to Santa Cruz.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, you're right.
I was right. It is virtual. John, right. You have an announcement or something to add. Thank you, Rita.
I just wanted to go back to the SAR for a moment. May I?
No, we're going to do that after announcement time. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine.
I've lost myself for a moment. There I am. I have a few other announcements. This one, it is really important. It's okay not to be okay. Hey, guess what? We're human. We go up and down. We have good times. We have bad times. That's totally normal. Another announcement. Our friend James is officially getting... Alex, if you would put James's new address, he is getting mail at his new facility at Pelican Bay State Prison. They are being more obnoxious about mail and what mail gets through. They don't tell us what the rules are until we've broken them, and officially envelopes that have, you know, the tape on them to allow them to stick down, those envelopes are not allowed. Other rules we're finding out. So if you'd like to write to James, please do. Next, every so often there might be a substitute. I might not be the person running this service next week, and I will tell you what I used to tell my classrooms is, please treat substitutes with respect. And it might be a surprise that it's not me, but still, be cool, my friends. Also, please share what we have. What we have going on here, I think, is pretty amazing. Tell your friends. Thank you for telling your friends. I appreciate that. And also under appreciation, as you know, my laptop took on a bunch of coffee, and I spilled my coffee on the laptop. It fried for 48 hours. It's working. If you have the ability, we're still a little bit short on the fundraiser. I will put a link in the chat for that. Or Alex, can you just put a link to rotb.org/donate in the chat? And if you're on Facebook or YouTube, oh look, I do have people on Facebook and YouTube. There they are. Good morning, Sherry. And there's some other comments from other people. So thank you guys also for being part of this. And there was that other announcement that I was so sure I would remember. Well, just do that other thing, whatever that was. John, go ahead.
2 words as we're looking at the SAR, and especially looking at the SAR in relation to self. And one adjective is healthy.
Healthy love?
If we can do those things, if we have a healthy attitude towards ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If our attitude towards ourselves is toxic, then those become really, really difficult to
It
do.
is hard to do, indeed.
And the second word that relates to SAR, especially with others, is unconditional.
Yeah. So let me. This is another definition of love that I got from my buddy Larry. And I think of it that love is an upper. That's how I remember the acronym. UPR stands for unconditional positive regard.
Yep.
That love is unconditional positive regard. It's easy to love babies. Now, can you do that with yourself? Can you have unconditional positive regard? And John, what you said is true. It's harder to do if you don't have unconditional positive regard for oneself. But I'm going to write something down here. If you can't do unconditional positive regard for yourself at current, hey, we have a plan for that, don't we, my friends? Numbers 1 through 5. If you can't do unconditional positive regard on your own, get some help. Get hints from other people in the neutral times until you can get to giving yourself hints. Until you can get good at giving yourself unconditional positive regard in all circumstances, even when the impossible person is railing on you and has broken your boundary.
People, there was like 6 people coupled, and
I'm a little confused on who it was who was speaking just then. Okay. That seems to have ended. Interesting. Okay. I want to introduce a new idea today, and we will review it later. It's another set of letters in our learning. It goes like this. Who remembers these ones? Show me your hand. Small, medium, large, wee, PP. Do you remember that one?
Good, might, like, would, plan, promise.
All right. And if you don't remember them at that level of remembering, that's okay. This is the stages of being able, of commitment, stages of commitment. And it's the acronym, and someone just told me that they didn't like it. And I'm not going to name names, no last names, but I told Matt he could come up with his own acronym if he didn't like mine. My acronym is small, medium, large, wee, PP. And I thank the wee PP part to my friend Bob, who came up with that, much to Rita's objection. But it's memorable. So small, medium, large goes like this. Should, might, like. I should have unconditional positive regard for myself. I might have unconditional positive regard for myself. I'd like to have unconditional positive regard for myself. We're going up one level at a time.
Okay.
I want to have unconditional positive regard for myself. I plan to have unconditional positive regard for myself. And I promise to have unconditional positive regard for myself. We would all think that we could just say, all right, I'm choosing this one.
No.
No. It doesn't work like that. So I want you to take a moment in your mind and say to yourself, I should have unconditional positive regard for me. I might have unconditional positive regard for me. I'd like to have unconditional positive regard for me. I want to have unconditional. And if you listen in to yourself, you do this slowly enough, there's a, the way I can best describe it is with a lie detector test. Do we all know lie detector tests can't tell that you're lying, but they can tell that you're anxious about answering a question?
Oh, I didn't know that.
And there's a way, there's going to be some tell. There's going to be some subtle tell in yourself as to which level it is where you really are and where you're. I'd like to have unconditional positive regard for myself. That might be where you naturally fall. So I'm going to ask us, let's take a minute. Mouth the words out loud. Mouth the words to yourself. I should have unconditional positive regard.
I'm lying.
And if you find yourself sing-songing on number 4, I want to have unconditional. That's your tell. So each of us are going to wind up in a different spot, and that's fine. Wherever you are, that's where you are.
Yeah.
And no beating yourself up for not being perfect at unconditional positive regard, because I think that's just ironic. That's circular, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So where are you with regard?
I have a question here.
Yeah.
I'm not getting plan then promise. I'm not getting the same level. To me, plan seems harder than promise. I don't know.
You can switch them. I don't care.
Okay. Okay. I'm just curious about the acronym. Thank you.
I'll put you in the same. Yeah. So to me, promise is if I don't do the thing, I will send $1,000 to my least favorite political opponent. To me, that's promise. That's the level of promise. I promise I will do it, and if I don't, I will. Whatever it is.
Die trying.
I will die trying. Right. So figure where you are, and just sit there, figure out wherever you are,
Shows everybody that's there.
and then try to go one further for next week. We're going to try something a little bit different. Go ahead, Carol.
Don't we also have to critique ourselves? Don't we have to aspire to be more than what we are?
Oh, yes, Carol, we do. But hold on a second, my friend.
We'll see.
I was prepared for that.
Okay. You're way ahead of me.
We can critique ourselves, but there's no value to harshness. There's no value to being mean to ourselves in our critique.
No, of course not.
Okay, go ahead then.
But if I have unconditional positive regard, don't I really have the condition that I can still grow more?
How about temporary unconditional positive regard? Okay. We're going to try
We don't want to get complacent.
No, we don't. We're going to try something new today, which is called Random Friendship Time. Everybody ready for Random Friendship Time? It sounds like a good idea.
Sure.
Here's how this is going to go. For the next, we're going to end 2 minutes before the service is done. But Alex is going to randomly put you into a room. And you're going to have a chance to talk about unconditional positive regard and how well you can love yourself. And that part will not be broadcast or recorded. It's just going to be in a random friendship group. So Alex, can you send people off? And if you're on a phone, you're going to get automatically sent off. And if you are not on a phone, you might get left here with me. But go ahead and we'll see you back in a moment.
You should be able to move it. Too much trouble.
There go the people. Alex, I have to stay here or my room gets broadcast.
Okay.
So but you can't, if you join a different room, can you then close the room or no?
I can, but I'm happy to stay here.
You stay here. Fair enough.
Okay.
And what, do we have a timer going, Alex?
I just started one.
How long is that for?
8. I have 8 minutes.
Okay, that's great. We'll see how that goes. Hi, Greg. Haven't seen you for a while.
Yes, I've been gone.
You are very, very ahead of schedule, as you still you just put up your Christmas tree.
That stays up all year round.
All right.
We love Christmas.
So I'm going to. How do I push? I push 3. That's just my image then. So all that's being broadcast right now, so that you guys all know, is just my face and your voices if you are speaking. But I know that not everyone likes to go to small groups and to share. So I want to respect that. I have been convinced that there are such things as introverts. I believe it is possible. I have a very different genetic or soul makeup where I got that extrovert thing, whatever that is.
What you doing?
Well, while we're sitting here, I'm going to blabber on for a moment. I'm going to look at this quote again for a moment, because before the service began, we talked a little bit about that there are some values to harshness. Harshness can keep people away from you because they don't want to spend time with you, and that might be a value to harshness. The other value we said harshness has is harshness feels good at the time. Might not be the right thing to do for the long term, but it does. Harshness makes us feel big and powerful and strong, and like nobody should be able to touch me. And I can't remember what else we said about harshness doing something that loving firmness doesn't do better. Oh, harshness also induces shame in a way that loving firmness does not. Harshness is much better at inducing shame, if that's your goal.
You know, it's interesting to me that you brought this up today, Rabbi, because my sister and I were having a conversation about this last night and this morning as it related to our mother, right? Yeah. My sister made the comment that she's coming to California more to see me now that our mother has passed than she did here.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'd noticed a similar thing. You know, I am making more trips back to my former home in Lompoc than I ever made from my trip in Lompoc up to here. And you know, the decision.
Your mom was not. Your mom did not agree with these Post-its.
Yeah, and so you know, it's one of those things where you know, I like this morning's conversation is just so on point with the conversation that my sister and I were having last night and again this morning before I came in.
Harshness is rough, especially when it comes from one's parents.
Those are two different groups.
I see now. Thank you. That's what I was wanting you to point out.
Say it again then. Jack, you had a...
I think he was having a conversation.
Okay. You're separate. Good. Yeah. I found, well, I'll say it this way. I am getting much better at having my self-talk not be harsh. as I age, I'm better at being able to look at my errors and not come down on myself harshly and say, well, oops, I guess I shouldn't have done that. I met with a wedding couple to do an intake with them, and last night I was in bed and I thought, Brian, you idiot, you're away that day. But it wasn't, Brian, you goddamn fucking idiot. It was a much lighter, Brian, you idiot. It was something, as my friend Afia once said. I cursed at myself. I said, oh, dumbass rabbi. And she said, maybe you want to say instead, say, friend, I think you made a mistake there. Be a little bit kinder. Harshness isn't needed.
Well, I think that's one of the things that I've been really noticing for myself, since my mom passed, is, it was a relief when she passed because she couldn't do any mean things anymore. But she certainly left a lot of tapes, renting space in my head, of things that she would say, right? And, I find myself, like, if I've done, made a mistake, or I'm cleaning something and I didn't clean it good enough to her standards, or what I imagine her standards would have been, I can hear her voice in my head playing this tape that's very critical. And, I've started to go, wait, stop.
Yeah,
and then,
good. That's fantastic.
And then the next thing is I just say, fuck off, Margaret.
Nice.
I'm cleaning the sink the way I'm cleaning the sink, and you don't get to help anymore because it's now my sink.
Right.
And
you catch yourself in before that self-critical loop gets bigger and snowballs, and you stop
exactly.
It.
Exactly.
I love that, Alex. I think the people should be returning now. No?
We have 1 minute 36 seconds, so I'll go ahead and I'll close. Let me wait 30 seconds and then I'll close the rooms.
Let's see how random friendship time. It seemed like a good idea on Wednesday when we came up with it.
Well, everything's a good idea until you realize it isn't, or everything's a good idea until you realize it is.
It's there's experimental theater. This is experimental religion.
Okay, so the rooms are now closing. Everyone has one minute
I
warning.
see it. I got the announcement too. And you made rooms of 5 people?
Yeah, they were about 4 to 5 people. Yeah,
that's great. Oh, it looks like there were people in each. Great, wonderful.
I didn't get the join the poetry room.
Oh, we're not up to that yet, Jack. We'll be there in a minute.
Okay. Yeah. The thought I had about talking about all this harshness and kindness, it's obvious to me that the kinder you are down the line with yourself and your life, less harsh you will be in the long run.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jack. You can't be just kind to other people, and they go lockstep. If you're kind to other people, chances are you're going to be kinder to yourself. If you're kinder to yourself, chances are you're going to be kinder to other people. This is a whole kindness. It all goes one and the same. John, go ahead, bud.
Can I offer one more acronym? CHI.
What's CHI, bud?
It's the disease that every single one of us has. Chronic human imperfection.
We all are suffering from CHI. I like that.
Absolutely. That's what makes being unconditional so difficult, is because we have CHI.
I think there's a pill for that these days.
What was the I, John?
Imperfection.
So
chronic human imperfection.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can put
we
that
have
pill
hit
in your
9 o'clock. I want to thank all of you for joining, for being, and the one thing that I want to say that came out of my little small group was that we can't be kind. That kindness, if we're kind to other people, we're going to learn to be kinder to ourselves. And if we're kinder to ourselves, we'll learn to be kinder to other people. It's just, it's our goal to be kinder. There was one other thing that we said.
Which will be a secret.
Wait, give me a moment.
There's always next week.
Oh, it was the self-talk. It was noticing our self-talk, that if we say to ourselves, Brian, you fucking idiot, you forgot that thing. It's just to at some point interrupt and think to ourselves, hey, no need to be mean to me. To take a moment and to there's always a moment to insert compassion. There's always a time, if there's always a space to insert compassion. It will always fit. Okay. I'm going to stop our recording here. I'm going to thank all of you. Everyone do a little wave so that they can say goodbye.